Welcome to Private for Public, a deeper look at Maine's delicate and often complicated tradition of public access to private land. Brought to you by the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Hey everyone, this is episode 6 of Private for Public podcast. I'm your host, Chris McCabe, and today I'm here in Ashland, Maine with Bill Greaves, the new executive director of the North Maine Woods.
That's my new title, and I'm glad to be in week 4 of my new career. So.
Well, congratulations on that new assignment. And how about you give us a little bit of your background and how you're here now?
Well, it kind of began. I grew up, born and raised in Presque Isle, and my dad used to take me to the North Maine Woods with my brothers, hunting and fishing, and I just fell in love with it. You know, one of the great experiences of my life is up here bird hunting, fishing, brook fishing. And I always remembered how much fun we had when we would stop at the gate and be able to talk a little bit to the gate attendants. And it really is a special place. So
very, very nice. What is your background? You have a forestry background before you kind of got into this career?
I went to college, like most people did when they were 18 years old at the time, and got a forestry degree from the University of Maine. I worked some seasonal jobs, like with International Paper and marked trees in Baxter State Park, and I kind of moved indoors at the time to the forest products industry and worked at the International Paper mill on Route 11 in Masardis, and worked for J.M. Huber when they started up their wafer board plant in Easton. So at that time I got married, had a couple of kids, and decided I had to look more down the road for a career, and got hired by the Maine Forest Service as a forest ranger. So 33 years later, I retired as a lieutenant and couldn't stand being home with nothing to do. So here I am back to my second career.
It's always funny. People look forward to retirement, but then they realize that the grass wasn't always greener, and they kind of get bored and they want to come back and work a little bit. So glad to have you back. I mean, it's definitely a huge deal here in Maine, obviously, the North Maine Woods. For those that aren't aware of what the North Maine Woods are, can you kind of give us a description of that so that the viewers know what we're talking about?
North Maine Woods is 3.5 million acres of public and private land. It's mostly industrial forest land where people make a living harvesting wood. It's made up of about 24 different landowners who got together back in the early 70s and formed this organization called North Maine Woods. And our mission is to manage recreational activities for those 24 different landowners on this 3.5 million acres.
So who are the landowners? They're large paper companies or investment groups, I'm assuming?
Correct. Large landowners such as the Irving Paper Company, Landvest, Clayton Lake Timberlands, Seven Islands, and many more that own industrial woodlands. There's also the Allagash Wilderness Waterway and public lands such as the Bully are involved in it too. So they're members of a board of directors which actually governed North Maine Woods Incorporated.
So with that, like there's obviously, I mean, the North Maine Woods, you said in the 70s it kind of came around, was when it started?
Correct. About 70, 71, the first people got together and decided that they wanted to manage the recreational activities and the road use on this 3.5 million acres, or at that time it was about 2.5 million acres involved, and keep their land open to public use.
So with that, obviously, it's a limited access technically because there's gates and you enter through the North Maine Woods gates. Like while that's recreational activities that are allowed, there's a continued working forest in there. So what are some of the things that are going on out on those lands for working forests? Like obviously like a lot of timber harvest is going on. And how do you see that with the interaction with the activities that you guys allow?
So the timber harvesting as we all know, the forest products industry is the largest industry in the state of Maine. It makes up over 20% of our economy here. So it's very important that the interaction between recreation and the industry happens in an appropriate manner. So what we do in North Maine Woods is we go out, we maintain campsites, we have rules such as rules of the road, how you drive, how you interact with the industry. And it all comes out pretty good. So part of what this industry is, we always think of the wood harvesting, but actually they're out there building roads, they're out there doing pre-commercial work, planting trees, having thinning operations, on and on. And so when we get our recreationalists out there and interfering with that, we want to make sure everybody's safe and that this industry can flourish and the recreationalists can flourish too. So
Really, the North Maine Woods is kind of the, for lack of a better term, the poster child of allowing public access for recreation. You guys do a great job managing all the activities out there, and it's obviously the largest contiguous chunk where activities can occur in the North Maine Woods. Hunting, fishing, any of those types of activities, hiking, birding, and all that. But clearly, like during COVID, like you must have seen an increase in the activities. I know that you're just kind of coming into the position, but what did you hear from everybody before, like with COVID and the increase in the activities people going into the North Maine Woods?
So what we experienced during that 2020-2021 season was a very big influx in our visitors that came to the North Maine Woods. It was a huge increase to us. Not only were the number of visitors increased, but the number of visitor days went up too, meaning that people were staying longer. They were coming for sometimes weeks at a time, and that's kind of an indication that those leaseholders that have camps there were kind of migrating to their camps. Guide services, our sporting camps were very busy at the time, and people wanted to get away from the population and come recreate in the great North Maine Woods.
So with that, obviously, you see people pay a gate fee to go in. What is the biggest type of activities that you see? Is it more the hunting season, or are you seeing the fishing activities, or does it fluctuate throughout the year?
So what we've experienced over the last 10 years, when you come through the gate, they record your activity, whether you're hunting, fishing, bird hunting, deer hunting. You try to keep track of that. And statistics over the last 30 years or 50 years since the 1970s have evolved. It's changed quite a bit. So back the 70s and 80s, for example, deer hunting, whitetail deer hunting was very big. November was very, very busy for us. And as of late, that's migrated more towards grouse hunting in October, or the moose hunt is very big too. In recent years, our brook trout fishing has peaked. Canoeing, water activities in the summer are on the increase. Of course, last year was very rainy, so we had a little downtick during the rainy season, but the recreation is migrated from that November deer hunt more towards October, the September moose hunt and brook trout fishing in the summer.
So how many gates are there going into the North Maine Woods, and what are the types of plans that people can have to go in there, and how do they make those plans with you guys before they enter the North Maine Woods?
So we don't have reservations. It's first come, first serve. So you can call our office and get an indication of where you'd like to go, and we can give you a little bit of advice as to what's going to work best for you. There's campsites all over the North Maine Woods. We have over 350 different sites that are available for you to use. There's also many guide services, sporting camps, if you want to stay somewhere and have a guided hunt or fishing trip or stay in a nice sporting camp, that's available. And you can go on our website and find that, or just do an internet search. So there's a whole gamut of possibilities, whatever you prefer to do, either remote camping, primitive camping, or go to a really high-end guide service.
And what is the cost for like a day pass, or like do you have lifetime passes, or are there week passes?
So coming into this season, it was $11 a day for adults. So if two adults came with two children, anybody under 18 is free. So you can bring your family here, two adults, two children, for $22 a day and recreate on today 3.5 million acres of land, as long as you follow the rules and are respectful of landowner rights. Then you got 3.5 million acres to do your recreation on for very minimal fee. We are looking at some increases this year, and you're talking about $1 or $2 a day, just so we can keep up with the economy. But it's very inexpensive, and camping fees, you can get seasonal passes at the gates. Seasonal pass is $90. So, and we base that pass on 7 days. If you come here for 7 days or more, you're better off buying a pass. If you come here for less than 7 days, then pay the day use fee. So
So a lot of that money obviously goes back into your infrastructure as to like paying the people that are at the gates, paying for the campsites and stuff. Did you see a lot of storm damage? I mean, we've been talking with snowmobile clubs, ATV clubs. Did you see a lot of storm damage at your campsites and stuff earlier this year during those December storms and summer storms that we had?
actually, we fared pretty well with the storms. It was mostly central Maine, south, and coastal Maine that were impacted. So North Maine Woods was out of that footprint. So we escaped pretty well. But a lot of that money, as you refer to, does pay. We got maybe 70 employees that man the gates, maintain the campsites, and we have shelters and picnic tables and outhouses and people that come to clean the sites. And we're always kind of shuffling those sites. We have some plans to put some new ones in where people want to go and camp. And
So with that, like the campsites and stuff, they're not like going to your local campground that's got a paved driveway and a septic pump and everything like that. Can you describe the campsite so that people maybe realize what they're actually going into if they do decide to come up?
so you can go there. There's usually picnic tables and an outhouse that you have available. It's kind of primitive. Most of them will have some type of shelter or roof over the picnic table. And then you're on your own. We can't guarantee clean water. There's no real water available that's been tested. Tents and campers are allowed. So you're kind of a primitive campsite for most of them.
What are some of the biggest abuses that you see out on the lands of the North Maine Woods that you like want people to be aware of, that when we're so lucky to have this access that we have here? What are some of the things that you see?
First of all, just be very respectful of the idea that you're on private land and you're actually a guest there. And these large paper companies, these large landowners, invite you to come and recreate on their land. So you want to be mindful of that. And when you get there, you're going to drive down gravel roads, be watching for log trucks and industry traffic. Always give them the right of way and pull over. Don't block the roads. If you pull off to the side of the road, that's fine, but do not block the side roads or the access for other people. Some of the issues that we encounter normally is people leaving trash in the campsites, throwing cans out of the window of their vehicle when they're driving down the road. That's not really acceptable. You're on private land and you're littering. It is a violation of the law to litter. So when you go into these campsites, please don't leave your trash there. Clean up after yourselves. We don't want you to leave any animal remnants such as grouse parts. When you clean your birds in the campsite, please clean that up, or any other game that you leave or you take from the woods. A lot of what we see is for camping is consumptive users who are hunting and fishing and take some game. So please clean up after yourself.
This is the Talking Trash segment, where we're going to talk about illegal dumping as one of the leading causes of private land being shut down for public access. On this episode of Talking Trash, we're going to talk a little bit about an invasive bug that's around. a litter bug. Recently, I received a call from the Sydney headquarters office manager who stated he had received 2 calls of a large dump site on the West River Road in Sydney, Maine. This was located on the Walter and Alice Reynolds Forest owned by the Kennebec Land Trust. This land sits just west of the Kennebec River on a small stream. This is a 40-acre parcel that is open to outdoor recreation. I went to the area, located a large dump site of household goods to include mattresses, carpets, and other assorted household trash, along with young kids' clothing, diapers, and other baby goods. I looked through the garbage, digging through old food and construction debris to locate any materials that may give a clue to who the garbage belonged to. I located 1 prescription bottle from Walgreens Pharmacy that revealed the name and address in the local area. In the trash, I located a cardboard box with a U.S. postage sticker with the last name, and I was able to carefully remove the duct tape and reveal the full name of the suspect. After meeting up with the local game warden, we began knocking on doors to track the perpetrator down. After a few phone calls and a few knocks on doors later, we finally were able to locate the suspect and talk to him about if the items belonged to him. The subject admitted that the materials I showed him in the photos were in fact his, but denied dumping them there. The suspect stated that the items had been left at a house they were renting, and they had told the tenants they would remove them within the month. The suspect stated they believed the tenants may have thought they were helping by removing the items and throwing them out. After a short phone call, it was determined that this was in fact the case, and the tenants had taken it upon themselves to remove the items and place them on someone else's property, dumping them illegally. If you think this is helping out, you may want to read the definition of help, as it states, providing someone with something that is useful or necessary. It was unnecessary for this person to remove garbage and place it on someone else's land to become their responsibility. The subjects were issued a summons, and the trash was immediately removed that day and taken to the local transfer station. Thank you to those who reported this information, and we are happy to say that these offenders were caught and will have their day in court. If you see illegal dumping occurring, please report the illegal activity, as it may save a piece of property from being closed to access. So one of the things I did want to ask you about was the solar eclipse coming up. I mean, it seems like it's a pretty big deal throughout the country. Obviously, like we're kind of ground zero, North Maine Woods being ground zero really for full solar eclipse. What are some of the things that you want people that are coming up here that may not be familiar with the state of Maine on April 8th to be familiar with going into the North Maine Woods?
So typically on April 8th in Maine, you can have a whole variance of weather scenarios. So we can be in the heart of winter or we can be in the heart of spring. So one of our big concerns is with this big influx of people coming to Maine that aren't familiar with us, is if they enter the North Maine Woods on April 8th or the week preceding, the week after, that roads are very soft. The snow, you're going to encounter snow that you're going to get stuck in. You can't drive everywhere in April. The roads are muddy, and you're going to do a vast amount of damage to the road surface if you're driving in on gravel industrial roads on April 8th. So we really don't suggest that you come here. North Maine Woods is not open until probably the first or second week of May. So although we don't have closed gates and we don't restrict access at that time, campsites will not be available. There will be nobody at the gate to give you the information that you need. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to damage the environment. You know, there's going to be snow in campsites. There's no place for you to stay. So we just don't recommend that those people coming for the eclipse enter the North Maine Woods.
And especially, I mean, it could be frozen in the morning and then it could soften up during the day. So driving a two-wheel drive vehicle out on these roads, you might be able to make it there in the morning, but you're not going to make it back out.
Good point, Chris. And it's just not an environment that people especially those people who are not familiar with it. It's not an environment we don't want you in there at that time.
I mean, I would agree. It's probably one of the best places to see the solar eclipse because there's no lighting.
Right.
There's definitely no lighting, but it's just not the right place to go.
Exactly, exactly. So if you have questions about that, certainly any official government agency is all over this eclipse issue. You can call the North Maine Woods, but we don't recommend it.
I think the best thing to do is like for people that want to come up here and see the solar eclipse, like plan ahead, have a plan in place, and do your research. Don't go on dirt roads. Don't go on snowmobile trails that are marked with snowmobile signs that look like a road, but it's actually a groomed trail if we still have snow by then. It may be in early spring this year the way things are going, and things may look good, but things change rapidly up here, and April 8th is typically winter still here. So just have a plan, be prepared, and stick to the main areas, the towns, and stay on the paved roads.
All good points, Chris. Thanks for bringing that up.
No problem.
Some of the other things we have concerns about is during wet periods, like in the spring and the fall. If you're driving on these gravel roads, you can cause great damage to the road surface. So please be respectful. Stay on the hard roads. Don't venture off in April into the muddy roads and muddy them up, because these landowners, they'll come in and it costs them a lot of money to bring equipment in and repair them. So just be respectful. And that can continue to wet periods, not just the spring. Even in the fall, be very careful of that. And then if you come in the winter, our normal season is around the 1st of May till about Thanksgiving time. And if you come up here in the winter and you want to enjoy the North Maine Woods when there's snow cover, you're welcome to come. We're closed as an agency, but just be respectful of where you're snow sledding. Don't drive over the seedlings that the paper companies have planted. Don't drive on the plowed roads. Please don't interact with the log trucks with your snow sleds. And of course, more recently, our ice is not safe to drive on with a snow sled, and which is apparent the last few days. We had somebody go through on the Allagash Waterway, and it was a very large rescue operation to get them out. So,
Obviously, like the wintertime too, we don't have as much snow as we normally do this time of year, but there's not a lot of parking out there either if people are going out to snowmobile and stuff. So where are locations? Are there plowed areas where people can park to go ice fishing or go riding out in there that they're safely off the road?
Usually the normal places you would want to park and unload your snow sled. These landowners are very good, and they'll spend a little extra money and plow a little parking spot for you to get your snow sled unloaded from your trailer or your vehicle. And take advantage of that. Do not park on the road. Some of these log trucks exceed 200,000 pounds, and your pickup's not much of a match in the road. So please park off the road, out of the way. Don't block any roads.
I know that it came up in the executive board meeting before, but it was like common courtesy for the hunters. They were describing bird hunters where there was a bird in the middle of the road and they parked their truck there and they're getting out in front of a loaded log truck to shoot the bird. And obviously, like, it's not only a courtesy, but that's like it's kind of like the unwritten rule that you just don't do that on those main roads, on those haul roads. Like, you want to be very courteous. But how can someone, if they want to go up in there, how can they connect with those loggers on the radios, like especially in the wintertime when it's icy? How can they know where they are, what mile they're at?
Good point, Chris. So what we ask people to do, if you come to the North Maine Woods, we have MERS radios. Once you enter the tree line, you'll see a kind of a fluorescent green sign there, and that indicates what MERS radio frequency that road is operating on. So if you come up here to spend any time, bring a radio with you that has MERS, MRUS frequencies in it, and you can, as you drive down the road, you'll hear people calling out mile markers going up or going down the road, going up or down in the mile marker numbers, so that everybody knows where each other's are, so we don't have a conflict on the road. These MERS frequencies were developed several years ago, and it's saved a lot of accidents. So all of the log trucks are calling out mile markers, and we should too as recreationalists.
You talked about like road maintenance and all that, and we all know like the cost of everything's gone up. Like you were talking about like an increase in the fees. Obviously, there's a lot of roads that they're either a winter road or they're roads that have grown in. What's your recommendation for people that want to go down those roads? Like, should they be looking out for anything, or like are they taking the culverts out? Like, is there anything that you guys want them to know as users going into those locations?
So you see the old roads that are growing in, sometimes they're winter roads, which are only maintained for traffic in the winter when they're frozen. I recommend don't take your vehicles there. They're great bird hunting, or great hunting. Get out and grab your shotgun or your rifle and go for a walk. Yeah, that's why we're here, is to get out into the woods. So park your vehicle in a safe place off the road, out of the way, and enjoy the walk and do a little hunting on foot.
You kind of mentioned it too. I mean, you guys collect data and stuff like that our department uses. Obviously, with the 4A moose hunt that we have now, with the cow hunt, there's been a large increase in the amount of traffic out there. What are you guys seeing on the landscape with that? Like, has there been a issue with the amount of hunters in there during that time frame, or is it kind of working itself out where people kind of they go in for the short amount of time and they use the campsites and then come back out, or has there been any issues?
We actually, in anticipation of the increased hunting use in that zone 4A, we created some more campsites. There's a more number of campsites, and that are available for people, and we don't run into too many negative issues in there. There is a little bit of congestion, but I think it's managed in a way that there's plenty of campsites, plenty of space for people, and we like it because we like having people come to the North Maine Woods, and the increased numbers help us. The increased gate attendance works pretty good for us, so from our perspective, that's a positive.
We talk about it a lot. I mean, it's community policing. It's just the more people we have out there, the more eyes and ears. Like, I mean, the majority of the people that are using your land are good people. They're kind of keeping an eye out. So does that work both ways, where they're kind of like keeping an eye out on the logging equipment stuff going on out there, so that maybe that kind of lowers the activities that may be nefarious in occurring around that stuff?
Right, exactly. We like to have people out there communicating with us. Anything they see, they can tell us. Certainly the warden service, if you see some act of illegal act, certainly report it to the warden service or call us and we will. And people look out for each other, whether it's flat tires or whether it's littering, and having that number of people out there is great. And our gate system, at every gate, there's cameras, and we record people coming in and out. So there's a really good sense of security for the logging equipment and for the sportsmen.
Have you heard about our Outdoor Partners program? For just $15 a year, you can help preserve Maine's tradition of outdoor recreation and support our private landowners. With over 17 million acres, roughly 94% of Maine's land is privately owned. When you become an outdoor partner, you help us provide critical resources to private landowners who help make recreating in Maine possible for the public. Your contributions go to signs, trails, law enforcement, educational programs, and events. You help maintain recreational access to hikers, bikers, wildlife watchers, hunters, anglers, trappers, recreational vehicles, and other explorers. You'll also be entered to win exclusive merchandise from our sponsoring businesses and organizations in our weekly drawings. Recent winners have received merchandise from Tacticam, Old Town Canoe, and North Maine Woods. Become an outdoor partner today to get involved and help us protect Maine's outdoors. Visit mefishwildlife.com/outdoor partners to learn more. So one of the things that you guys do that's very unique with the North Maine Woods is you manage all of the bear baits for all of these different landowners. Where do people get the information from on that?
This whole program was created back a few years ago when the anti-bear referendums were coming about. We decided we would help manage these bear sites, and some of that money that we collect for them goes into a fund to help with any type of new legislation that comes up. We have a fund set aside that will help support sportsmen for that. So, and then of course the money from those sites helps support North Maine Woods and our 70+ employees also. So it's a great program, and bear hunting in Maine has grown and grown and grown, and will continue to grow. There's a very healthy bear population out there, and we love to see it, and in the North Maine Woods and outside the North Maine Woods also.
And that's recreational, that's commercial sites and all that. So it could be a guide service or personal sites.
Right. If you want to hunt on one of these bear bait sites in the North Maine Woods, the guide services obviously buy into a number of them, and that's a good place to start. If you're looking to have bear baits for yourself, then call our office in Ashland, and we can see if there are any available.
One of the things that I did want to hit on was the activities that you do allow and the things that you don't allow. So there are some things that you don't allow in the North Maine Woods that maybe like hit on that a little bit.
So of course the things we allow are all kinds of hunting, fishing, whether it's white-tailed deer hunting, grouse hunting, woodcock. We have a huge fisheries, and you're more than welcome to come and do that. Some of the things we don't allow are ATVs. That's the number one. We just think it creates an unsafe environment to have the interaction with the ATVs and logging industry and log trucks, and so we're kind of keeping that out of the North Maine Woods.
One of the things that's on the forefront of things that are kind of coming into the hunting realm is e-bikes, and like the North Maine Woods doesn't allow bicycles either, right?
No bicycles. And we kind of joke about the guy riding down the road on a bicycle and a 200,000-pound log truck's coming the other way, and it just doesn't mesh very well. And in your MERS radio that we require doesn't fit on the handlebars too good. So please don't bring bikes in the North Maine Woods, or even for your kids that want to ride around the campground. We don't allow it. So.
One of the things that you guys have that's very unique is obviously with the gates and stuff. You kind of police that. How many people come up during moose season and they have an ATV on their trailers? Do you see that a lot?
It's not a lot, but it does happen. And we will tell them that it's not acceptable, and we do for certain work purposes. Obviously search and rescue, and some of the resource protection agencies can have an ATV in the woods. We allow that with a permit, but for the recreationalists, no ATVs, no bikes. So.
One of the things that a lot of people don't think of too, we were talking about commercial timber harvest, but maple syrup is a big thing in the North Maine Woods. Like, what's the North Maine Woods doing with those sugar shacks? Is there any involvement with that?
We don't engage with them directly, but they are valued landowners, and some of them are on lease land, so we give them all of the respect that they need. We try to help them out when we need to.
What are some of the, you were talking about campsites and stuff. Does the North Maine Woods actually have any like physical buildings, camps that people can stay at in the North Maine Woods?
There are a few very primitive buildings, I would say, along the St. John River and some other places. They're mostly for canoe trips. So other than that, we don't have any camps we lease. Those are all free if you're doing a canoe trip. If you happen to come along, such as Schlossbogen. And some other places have some little buildings there that you can use, but other than that, North Maine Woods does not have camps.
So if someone wants to, if they want to come up here, if they have a passion to help out the North Maine Woods or the landowners up there, how could someone come up to help you guys out at campsites or anything like that? Do you guys allow that?
We could tie you up with Landowner Appreciation Day, where we go out and we try to help these landowners that give us access to private land, and we'll clean up garbage sites, any dump sites with them, and we participate in that along with the Warden Service and the Forest Service. The biggest thing is just being respectful of these private landowners and clean things up after yourself, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely when we talk about, if you're not familiar with the state of Maine and public access, North Maine Woods by far is the biggest chunk of land that we have public access to in the state of Maine.
It's very unique all across the country to have 3.5 million acres of private land accessible by the public for everything from fiddleheading to deer hunting to snowmobiling. It's very unique, and for currently $11 a day, it's going to go up $1 or $2 this summer. It's very inexpensive to be able to come here.
And to think about 22 landowners, you said?
24.
24 landowners that all came together to make one cohesive group is very unique.
It is. I mean, it is. It's a unique place, and they are very generous to do what they're doing. You know, they have absolutely no income stream from recreation at this time. They don't gain any financial gain from us being there. As a matter of fact, it costs them a little bit of money with the road repairs and et cetera. But they like it. They enjoy it themselves, and it's quite a history there.
If you could tell the user groups of the North Maine Woods anything, what would you want to tell them, like before they enter and then while they're out there using it?
Come here, enjoy yourself. It's a very special place to a lot of people over hundreds of years. Come here and just be very respectful of that. Be respectful of the landowners. Thank them if you see them. If you happen to come across a logging operation, just stay away, turn your vehicle around and go the other way. And don't engage. That equipment's very powerful. The operators don't always see vehicles that come into a logging operation. Just kind of stay out of there. Follow the rules of the road, which is on our website. Use your MERS radios, and otherwise come here and have a good time. You know, we get some great fisheries and hunting opportunities, and like no other in the country. So a little bit of landowner respect goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a tradition that we can continue to have, and we talk about the tradition of the state of Maine with open access and stuff. It's really very limited like that anywhere else in the country. There's really nothing like it, and if we want to continue that access, you need to have a positive attitude and respect the landowners, and don't leave a mess out there. Leave it like it was your own, I think would be the best way of putting it, probably, and you know that other people are coming in behind you. So they don't want to find a mess behind when they show up.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it, Chris. And we certainly don't want to discourage people from coming. It's a great opportunity, and I certainly, my family, you know, from me growing up to my kids to my grandkids, come out here and recreate and have a great time. And I'd much rather see these young people out here doing a little bit of fishing than hanging out downtown somewhere.
How can people find out about the North Maine Woods? How can they get a hold of you guys?
We have a website. You can get right on and Google us, you know, North Maine Woods Inc. Or you can call our Ashland office, and I'll provide that number here.
Or you can stop in Ashland.
Stop in Ashland and say hi. Of course, if you just come up here, stop at the gates. You know, there's a wealth of information and great people that love to talk at our gates, and I have a blast with them. They're a good crew. I'm very blessed to have the employees that I do, and they're a lot of fun.
Do you think the people at the gates would give away their secret fishing holes or hunting spots, like to the people enjoying the North Maine Woods?
You know, I hear like gifts like Thin Mints and chocolate go a long way. So, yeah.
You hear it there first, folks. Like, definitely bring some goodies, and you might find the hot spots. So, thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and kind of explaining the North Maine Woods to everybody. It's a gem of the state of Maine, and we really appreciate the access that you guys allow.
Thank you, and hope to see you in the woods.
Thanks for listening. I hope this discussion has helped you learn more about North Maine Woods and the influence of partnerships to outdoor recreation. Join me again next week when I speak to David Haynes, a significant landowner from Auburn, Maine. In the meantime, do your part to help protect Maine's tradition of access to private land by being a responsible land user and showing your appreciation and support for Maine's private landowners. Visit mefishwildlife.com/outdoor partners to find out more about how you can get involved and become an outdoor partner.